perforation or bleeding. How do we diagnose Meckel's diverticulum accidentally? Either you do an X-ray for anything else and you will find them, or the patient comes with signs and symptoms of very similar to appendix or appendicitis, but on the left side. Okay. Now, normally this vitellointestinal duct should disappear. We said in 2% it might remain as Meckel's diverticulum. Some cases, Meckel's diverticulum will be attached to the umbilicus by a fibrous cord. Sometimes it's only the fibrous cord that is present. Sometimes it is a fistula. Sometimes it is a sinus. You know what is the difference between fistula and sinus? Fistula, it is open at both ends. So you will have feces going through your umbilicus. Or, digested food. While sinus, it's only open from one side. Sometimes you'll even have a cyst between these two structures. So these are different varieties of remnant of vitellointestinal duct. The commonest is that you have the Meckel's diverticulum. Where do you find Meckel's diverticulum? 2 feet away from ileocecal junction. Okay, on the anti-mesenteric border. Now, just a few words about blood supply of gastrointestinal system. I'm going to have a wonderful lecture on blood supply to recap everything. But for now, for the duodenum and for the stomach. Now remember, during embryonic development, we have foregut, we have midgut, and we have hindgut. Foregut, and you need to remember this, is basically the lower part of the esophagus, the stomach, and upper half of the duodenum. Okay? Midgut is the lower half of the duodenum, and then what? Duodenum, and then ileum, and then cecum, and then ascending colon, and then 3/4 of the transverse colon. So lower half of the duodenum, ileum, cecum, ascending colon, 3/4 of the transverse colon. This is the midgut. The rest will be the hindgut. Now when it comes to blood supply, it is easy. Each will have its own artery. Okay? Now, coming from the abdominal aorta, we have number of paired arteries, like renal arteries, gonadal arteries, lumbar arteries, but we have 4 unpaired arteries. Celiac trunk, just below the diaphragm, superior mesenteric, just above the renal, and inferior mesenteric, 2 inches above the bifurcation where the aorta divides. We have a smaller one that comes from the posterior surface. It's called the median sacral. It supplies the rectum. It's small, tiny little branch. But the major ones are 3. Celiac, superior mesenteric, and inferior mesenteric. Now, remember foregut, midgut, hindgut? Celiac is for foregut. Superior mesenteric, midgut. Inferior mesenteric, hindgut. So if I tell you what will be the blood supply of the ileum, so I'll make your life easier. If you remember this, then it will be easy to remember the rest of the blood supply. If I tell you what will be the blood supply of the descending colon, you're going to tell me it is the inferior, it is hindgut. If I tell you what will be the blood supply of lower half of the duodenum, superior mesenteric. Upper half of the duodenum, celiac. Okay, let's take them one by one. And today only we'll talk about the celiac. Now celiac, it comes just below the diaphragm. Although the name is big, celiac trunk, but it's very short. It's a small artery because the moment it comes from the aorta, at the level of C12, it divides into 3 arteries: left gastric, splenic, and common hepatic. Okay? So celiac trunk, the moment it comes from the aorta, divides into three: left gastric, splenic, and common hepatic. And bear with me a few more minutes, because you need to remember this, and it will make your life easier. Left gastric, as the name implies, it goes to the left and it runs on the lesser curvature of the stomach. It supplies lower part of the duodenum and it supplies the stomach on the lesser curvature. It's going to send branches to the body of the stomach. Why did we call it left gastric? Because we will have right gastric. Okay? So we will leave it right there. Now this artery, once you see it, you will never forget it. The splenic artery, it is a thick, tortuous, dancing on the superior border of pancreas going towards the spleen. Okay, splenic artery, you will never miss it. As it goes to the spleen, it's going to give us pancreatic branches, of course, and it's going to give us splenic branches. But when it comes to the stomach, it's going to give us short gastric, mostly to the fundus, and this artery here running on the greater curvature between the two layers of the greater omentum. We call that left gastro-omental or epiploic. Epiploic means fat, because omentum is fat. Okay? So from the splenic, we have the short gastric going to the fundus, and we have the left gastro, epiploic or omental artery running on the greater curvature. Why we call it the left gastro epiploic artery? Because we will have a right one. Okay, so back. Splenic is going to be dancing on the superior border of pancreas, thick tortuous, giving pancreatic, giving splenic, but most importantly will be giving short gastric arteries to the fundus of the stomach, and will be giving the left gastro-epiploic or omental artery. Okay? Now the third branch from the celiac, remember we said the celiac, left gastric, splenic, and the common hepatic. Why do we call it common? Because it will divide again. Otherwise we'll just call it hepatic. This common hepatic will divide into two branches. One goes up and one goes down. The one goes up toward the liver. We're going to call it the hepatic artery proper. So the common hepatic will divide into one goes up, one goes down. The one goes up is the common or the hepatic artery proper. It's going to the liver. The one goes down behind the first part of the duodenum is the famous gastroduodenal artery that might be eroded. So the common hepatic divides into hepatic artery proper and the gastroduodenal artery. Now what happens to these arteries? Hepatic artery proper is going to divide into right and left hepatic, right? And from the right hepatic you will have the cystic artery. You still remember the Callox triangle? Yes. Okay? And also from the hepatic artery proper, we will have this branch that will go on the lesser curvature of the stomach and means it is opponent. What are we going to call that? Right gastric. So we have now left gastric and we have right gastric running on the lesser curvature of the stomach. So common hepatic divides into hepatic artery proper and the gastroduodenal going down. From the hepatic artery proper we have the left and the right hepatic and the right gastric. Now what happens if you were to remove the stomach for any reason, cancer or whatever. What are the arteries that you need to ligate? Left gastric, right gastric, splenic, you will kill the spleen, you will kill the pancreas, you will kill the heart. Short gastric, and which one, right or left? Why would you only leave one? They only supply the stomach. So you will remove the left gastric, right gastric, left gastroepiploic, right gastroepiploic, and the short gastric artery. Okay? Now, if there is an ulceration in this area, in the lesser curvature of the stomach, and you figure that it is eroding the left gastric artery, and you ligate that artery. Is it a problem, or there will be other supply to the stomach? There will be other supply to the stomach. What are the arteries? Right gastric, right gastroepiploic, short gastric, right, and so on. Okay? Clear? So celiac trunk will supply the foregut. When we say foregut, it is esophagus, lower part, stomach, and upper half of the duodenum. Now, it has three branches. Left gastric, or the lesser curvature, splenic, that will give us short gastric and left gastroepiploic, and common hepatic. Why we call it common? Because it's going to divide into hepatic artery proper and the gastroduodenum. Hepatic artery will give us right hepatic, left hepatic, and the right gastroduodenum. So now we have left gastric, we have right gastric, we have left gastroepiploic. What about the right gastroepiploic? Where is it going to come from? Now remember this gastroduodenal artery? As it descends, it's going to give us two arteries that will ride the pancreas like this. It's called superior because it is superior. One is anterior, one is posterior. Pancreatico-duodenal artery because it will supply the pancreas and the duodenum. Now remember the celiac trunk is supplying the foregut. It should supply the upper half of the duodenum. So the upper half of the duodenum, where it's going to come from, is going to come from the gastroduodenal artery. Before it goes down, it's going to give us pancreatico-duodenal arteries, the superior one anterior, one posterior. And then it's going to continue as right gastroepiploic or omental artery. So now we have the picture completed. We have supplied the foregut. Left gastric, splenic will give us short gastric and left gastroepiploic. And then the common hepatic will give us the hepatic artery proper. From there we'll have the right gastric. And then gastroduodenal will continue down as right gastro-omental or epiploic artery. Okay? Before it continues as the right gastro-omental or epiploic artery, it's going to give us the pancreatico-duodenal artery to supply the pancreas and the duodenum. Any questions? No? And eventually you're going to have to memorize, but at least understanding the concept of foregut, midgut, hindgut will make it easier for you. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah.